هل يا ترى حسيتي بحياتك بأي لحظة إنه المجتمع الشرقي عم بيمسكك إنه ما عم تقدري تحققي كل إمكانياتك وكل أحلامك تقدري تحققيهم؟ اليوم بدنا نسوي مقابلة مع امرأة عظيمة اللي هي طلعت من هالجو، قدرت تفوز وقدرت تطالع بنات غيرها تساعدهم انه هن يحققوا احلامهم، يكملوا دراستهم وينتجوا بالحياة. اليوم تابعونا لانه بدنا نسوي مقابلة مع سارة سفاري. سارة خدافس. Did I say that right?
Khudafis means bye.
Oh, khudafis. Oh, okay, never mind. Cut that.
Salam.
Okay. Salam, Sarah.
Salam.
Ahlan sahla. Today we are going to be talking with Sara, who is an extraordinary woman. I have to just give you the fast introduction about Sara because she's got so much and we have so much to cover today. So just you wait. You're going to discover some amazing things about yourself. Because we help each other gain our own strengths, and that's her strength, is she is helping other women capture their strength and help them rise with it. So, Sara, give us the quick introduction of your life and tell us how it all began for you.
Well, right now what I'm doing is I'm climbing the 7 highest peaks on 7 continents to raise funds and awareness for the 7 charities who are empowering women around the world. And I've done 5 of them, and I'm waiting to do the other last 2. And the very last one would be Everest. But I've climbed Everest once before, right. And this would be my second time going for the top of the mountain. Right. And it all started 5 years ago. I was a simple engineer with...
No, she's not a simple engineer. See, this is the problem, is that these women come along and they're like, yeah, I'm just a farmer, like my friend Catherine, you know, and here she's, I'm just a simple engineer. No, she's not. She's a professor in mechanical engineering at one of the top universities in California. So no, I'm sorry, I had to correct you, but go ahead.
So I was a very shy person. I was just very focused on my engineering work, and I didn't have big goals in my life. My goals were just, I just want to live a life. I want to have a car and I want to have a house. That's it. And that's it. And there was one day that I was sitting and I thought, this is not big enough for me. And this won't make me happy. And this is not a big enough goal. And I was in a seminar. I decided to go to a seminar.
Those were the leadership seminars?
It was a leadership interpersonal communication seminar. And I went to the seminar, and the leader of the seminar said, come up with this huge project, impossible, that you can't even think of doing. And I was just sitting in my chair thinking, what is something impossible? What is something that I cannot even dream of? And somebody behind me started talking about Everest. And I heard the word Everest and I thought, perfect. I hate cold weather. I've never been camping before. I never slept in a sleeping bag. I don't even have a pair of hiking boots. And I thought, that's impossible because right. I'm 100% sure I won't do this.
And you basically حطيتي النية, the
exactly.
niyyah, the intention, the power of intention is crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I went home and I Googled how to climb Everest, and the very first link I clicked on it and I started reading, and it said in the reading, it said it takes 60 days.
Wow.
I thought, who goes mountain climbing for 60 days? I just closed my laptop and I left. I'm like, it's not for me, it's for other people. And I left, and I'm like, that's not for me.
Right.
And for 2 weeks, I was thinking I had this opportunity to do something different, to do something impossible, to do something out of my comfort zone, and I didn't take the chance. And they didn't tell me to go climb Everest tomorrow. They said, only take the first step. Just the first step. And I thought, what would be the first step? So I went back, I clicked on that link, and there was a phone number. I called them, I said, I want to climb Everest. I have zero experience. I mean, they laughed at me.
They laughed because I'm laughing.
Yeah,
Because I'm thinking, what would they think on the other end?
Everybody made fun of me. I didn't have any friends or family, even extended family, who had any experience in mountain climbing or even hiking.
Right.
So I really had to learn everything by myself. So I just called the phone number and I said, I want to climb Everest. I have zero experience. They made fun of me too. I said, what should I do? They said, there is this mountain 5 hours from you, Mount Whitney. Go climb that. And then call us back.
Right.
And it was in the middle of winter. But I was just so excited that I have this huge goal. I'm not there yet. I'm not going to be there anytime soon. But there's a step. There's a first step that I can take. And that I was so excited about the first step that I showed up on Mount Whitney alone in the middle of winter. It was 3 feet of snow.
Alone?
Alone.
Your first time camping.
Yeah.
Oh, Sarah.
and then I was about, I don't recommend it. So for people who are hearing this, don't do this.
Oh, no.
Don't show up alone on the mountain. That's not a good idea. But I was hiking and I got to 12,000 feet, which is because of lack of oxygen. I couldn't breathe. My sleeping bag got completely wet. And I thought I'm dying. And I'm sure you watched that video of myself crying and telling to my phone that I'm dying. I don't want to be here. I'm so sad.
That video is in a link down below, so you get a chance to really see the true reality of what was going on. And she was crying. I cried watching the video too, so.
And you know, for the longest time, I had such a hard time posting that video.
Oh, I'm sure. The shame, humiliation.
I was ashamed of myself for failing. But later on, I realized failing is the most important thing when you're succeeding, because you need to keep failing to realize which way is the right way, which way takes you to the next level.
Sara, this is an important aspect. Okay, so failure here in America or in the West is considered totally socially acceptable. And I think this is one of the big differences of the Eastern culture and the Western culture, where in the East, there is no mercy, ma fi rahmeh, for anyone who fails. And if you're not the first student in the class, the top student in the class, your parents are non-forgiving. The whole community, the whole social structure is, we don't accept failure. And a failure is a shame for the whole family. You know, you dishonor family, Mulan.
Yeah.
You know, but in your case and in our case, this is the one thing that we discovered in the West, is that failure is normal. Failure is great. And the bigger the failure, that means the bigger the lesson. And that is really difficult for, I think, new immigrants and new refugees to come out and realize that you do not have to hide your failures in the closet.
Yeah.
You know, that this is part of it. And Americans and the West loves stories about failures and coming out from that.
Yeah.
So go ahead, continue.
And this is like a sense of perfectionism that it comes with us. It comes with the culture. We want to be the best. And I was the same. I grew up, my parents only wanted me to get A's, like the best grades. And that's why it took me a long time to share that video on my social media, because I was so ashamed of failing.
Was that your first big failure?
That was my first big failure.
Wow. And it's so raw.
Yeah.
You know, after Whitney and coming down that mountain and facing your failure and dealing with that, what was your next step?
Well, after a couple of failings after that, failing and failing and failing, I decided to quit mountain climbing. I thought, this is not for me. I'm gonna just leave it for mountain climbers. I'm just gonna go back to my job.
At this point, were you exposed to your family? Did they witness this, or did you keep it to yourself?
No, this is still a secret. And I don't tell anybody that this is my big goal. I'm just pretending that I'm
Because you knew the culture. You knew that
Yeah.
they would not be forgiving for that. And you knew that you had a potential for failure, so you didn't want that. I told you so.
Exactly. I
And
didn't want to
that's-
hear from anybody telling me that
Yeah.
we told you you're gonna fail. See, you
Yeah.
fail.
This is what we call in Arabic شماتة. لما بيشمتوا فيك هي أصعب شيء. And you didn't give them fuel to the fire.
Exactly.
Good girl. I'm proud of you for that. That's actually smart.
I was preparing the foundation until that moment, but I still decided to quit. And I put all my gear, climbing gear for sale. I just wanted to get rid of them. I was done with that Everest chapter
Okay,
of my life.
I'm dying to hear it. Okay. What happened next?
And then I got a job offer the same day that I decided to quit. I got a job offer to teach in Cal State Fullerton.
See, I told you. She's teaching mechanical engineering as a professor at Cal State Fullerton. See? She said simple engineer. Okay.
And I was teaching. After a month of teaching, I had a really bad schedule, teaching in the morning, then nothing, and then afternoon and nothing, and then evening. So I had a really bad schedule, and I decided to forget about Everest because I didn't even have time to train.
Right.
And I asked the other faculty, do you know somebody who's into hiking, mountain climbing? I kind of want to go hiking around with someone. Do you know somebody? And somebody introduced me to Dr. Cutler, Dr. Jeffrey Cutler, who is the founder of the organization called Empower Nepali Girls. And I went to his office. I went there to tell him, oh, let's go hiking together. But I saw pictures of the girls on the wall. And I said, who are they? What is this? And he said that he went to Nepal 17 years ago, and he realized the girls who become victims of human trafficking.
Sex trafficking.
The sex trafficking. So there is a belief in northern India, men who are HIV positive, they think that if they sleep with a virgin girl, their HIVs get treated and they get well. So they buy the girls really cheap and they get raped, they get diseases, and even if they survive and somehow come back to their villages, they can never have a normal life.
Right. And the percentage of them coming back to the village is very low anyway.
Yeah.
They're usually exploited thereafter.
Exactly. So I was there to find a hiking buddy, but really what happened was my whole life changed. I couldn't go back to my normal life, living a daily life, knowing this. So I re-promised to climb Mount Everest again at that day after a month of quitting. I said, I promised Jeffrey, who was the head of the organization at that time, that I'm gonna go back to training and climb mountains.
But what was the relationship between climbing Mount Everest and helping the Nepali girls? What was that?
So I grew up in Iran. I grew up in gender discrimination. I experienced firsthand the oppressive environment that limits women and don't let women to progress, to do something for themselves, to pursue their own dreams.
So this was a hot button for Sara Safari.
Exactly.
So when he said that, did that trigger your memories of being trapped in a situation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
It just reminded me of all little Sarah. Like I remind every single girl that he talked about reminded me of myself, reminded me of everything I wanted to do. I had the potential to do, but I couldn't.
I just want to make mention of something real quick because Sara wrote an amazing book called Above the Mountain's Shadow. And in this book, she describes a lot of these details. And it took 13 years for your family to get permission to leave and come to America. So you were saying in those 13 years, you were laser-like focused on becoming the best in education, getting, that focus, that discipline, that you knew that was the way out of the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was 13 years.
Yeah.
You had it in your mind.
Yeah.
And because you lived in an environment or in a household that you did witness domestic violence. So now you're hearing Dr. Kotler saying that he's helping divert the girls from the sex trafficking industry. That brought you back to your childhood.
Yeah. The fact that Dr. Kotler mentioned that by providing education to these girls, we make sure that they don't become victims of human trafficking, or their families don't let them go and they keep them there to take care of them. And then they have a bright future, and later on they go and even come back and take care of their own families.
Exactly.
It reminded me of every single time that my mom told me, your way out of this is education.
Got it.
This is how you're gonna build a good life.
So your mom said the key
Yeah.
is education.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So
And that was like that moment in Jeffrey's office. I'm like, got this. I'm gonna go climb mountains, which is
So when you climb the mountain, you're raising money
yeah.
to help fund that.
So I promised for every foot of any mountain that I climb, I raise $1. So Everest is 29,000 feet, $29,000, which $29,000 in Nepal provides for 150 girls to go to school one whole year.
Beautiful.
It's a lot of money in Nepal.
Right.
And
You raised more than 29,000.
a lot more, way more than that.
And that's where the Persian community helped you and your staff and colleagues at school and whatnot. So by then you had developed a good enough relationship. They trusted you.
Yeah.
They knew you were going to keep your word.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And you were going to do it.
Yeah, yeah. That Mount Whitney experience that I failed, that I cried on top of the mountain, and I showed up on the highest mountain in continent of US with zero experience. So people knew when I say I want to do something, it happens. I actually go for it.
Right.
Even if I fail, I still go for it. So they trusted me that I'm going to go whatever it takes, and I'm going to train myself, and I'm going to build up a good foundation in terms of training, in terms of
Right.
gear.
So they knew that the money that they invest in you is going to go directly to those girls.
Exactly.
Okay, halas.
Yeah.
So now you're on that training path. You understand that now you are going to become the voice of Empower Nepali Girls. So the chapter where Dr. Jeffrey Kotler writes that moment in time when she went into his office and she left and he goes, who was that woman? And I'm sure, like, as life-changing as that was for you, it was also life-changing for him, because he was always feeling awkward of being, a foreign American white man who is helping all of these young girls. It was kind of an awkward situation. And now he has an ambassador to basically claim that voice, because she is from that region. She was in the rabbit hole and she got out. And now you had the opportunity to help other women get out of their rabbit hole. Like, this was your whole purpose, your destiny in life. It was
This
clear.
is my calling. It was so clear for me.
That's clarity.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about you, is that you knew that. But I think you actually had clarity as a young, brilliant girl in Iran. You had clarity back then too, that you knew.
I knew the importance of education. I knew that I'm here to do bigger things, but I didn't know what is that.
Right.
Like, I was searching for it, but it wasn't clear for me what is that. But then the moment Jeffrey talked about those girls, it all clicked in. I knew I'm here to empower these young kids to get education, find opportunities, transform their own lives, transform their families' lives, and transform their whole country.
So with that money that you raised for every foot of, height on a mountain, that money goes to provide for their uniform, their backpacks, their books, and their basic expenses to help the family not sell the girl.
Exactly.
And I know there's something really important in this, and that is that notebooks.
Yeah.
Why is providing a girl a basic notebook important to you?
Well,
I did my homework. I love this book.
know.
This was such a well-written book that I really am suggesting that you do this. I know it's been translated into Farsi already, but it has not been translated into Arabic, and I'm going to push for that.
Yeah,
so,
thank you.
Yes.
So,
What happened to make you see that a blank notebook, cheap little notebook, is sacred?
first day of college, it was only a few years that I was in US. I didn't have friends. I didn't know the language really well. I just moved into a very small apartment, which was just a very small square. I just had a small bed, a table, which I grabbed the bed and the table from a garage sale. I paid like $10 for the bed, $10 for the table. And the house is very small. The building was so old that I couldn't even close the windows. And there was just a little restroom over there. So, but this is my apartment. And it has the cheapest rent in that area. That's why I picked it. And I moved into my apartment all by myself. And I was kind of the whole time watching other kids moving to their own apartments with parents and the whole family moving
and decorating from Target.
Exactly, like brand new things, like nice things. And I'm like, I want that, but I don't have it. But that's okay. I got
Focus.
this. Let's focus on this. We're gonna make it. That would be the next step. Let's focus on what I have and let's enjoy what I have. And the first day, I didn't even have time. I was so busy moving around things that I didn't even have time to go buy notebooks for myself. So I showed up in the very first class without any notebooks. So I'm sitting there and then I looked at this girl sitting next to me, and she had 5 notebooks, 5 different colors, very nice. And the professor comes, he starts writing on the board, electrical engineering stuff. And I realized, I forgot. And I looked into my backpack and I found a sheet of paper. I just took it out and I wanted to start writing. This girl next to me, I looked at her notebook and she said, yeah, my dad, he went to Costco yesterday and he bought like so many notebooks for me and my sister. And do you want one of them? I said, no, I'm okay. I'm just going to write this sheet of paper. But then I finished it later on during the class. She gave me a sheet of paper. But then that moment, I thought, if I had my dad present, which in parentheses, my biological dad passed away and my mom got married when I was 2.
So the first war in Iraq and Iran, that's
Exactly.
the war that he was when you were still, before you were born.
I was negative 4 months, yeah. And I just thought about him, that if he was there, he would have bought notebooks for me. And I don't have notebooks. That's why I don't have notebooks, because he's not there. And I tried to stay focused. I stayed focused. I finished the class. And as I'm leaving the class, I'm just walking to my apartment. I'm like, I need to do some cleaning. I need to take care of the brand new apartment. And as I'm walking, I heard a truck backing up, beep, beep, beep. And then the guy is like, lady, can you move? And I just moved a little bit so he could back up. And then he jumped out of the door. He went back to the back of the car and he opened the bag and he said, free notebooks. And I'm like, what? That's the only one thing I want in life at this moment. And then I got the notebook and I'm looking at the guys like, this is fake. There's a hidden camera somewhere. That's no way that I get free notebooks when I want free notebooks. And I got a notebook and I'm still looking at the guy trying to understand the moment. And he's like, do you want more than one? And I just couldn't understand the moment. I'm like, and he gave me 2 more. Now I have 3 notebooks and I still have them. And I'm walking.
And you thought this was your father?
Wait. And I turned around and I'm walking towards my apartment. I open the notebook. It says www.safari.com. My last name is on the notebook.
Wow.
And I thought, thank you, Dad.
You knew it was your father.
I knew he heard me as I asked for notebooks and he gave me notebooks. And that's exactly what I asked for. That's how dads are. They get exactly what you ask for.
And now you are distributing notebooks to how many girls?
Hundreds.
So that's exactly, you were in the rabbit hole, you pulled yourself out, and you are now giving back. Okay.
Yeah. And that's why I'm obsessed with notebooks. Hold on.
Stupid notebook story. I don't do pretty crying.
But that was really pretty, actually.
I'm not one of those like pretty beach people. Like when you go to the beach, like I get blotchy and I'm not. And then when I cry, I look like I look like a camel drooling. I don't do that. Okay, so Sara, so after you graduated from UCLA, you became a professor, and then you met Dr. Jeffrey Kotler, and then everything magnified your purpose in life. And that was that now you were going to be the voice of girls that needed you. Mm-hmm. And so now you had that fire inside of you to go up Mount Everest. What happened then?
Well, from the day that I said I want to climb Everest until the day that I was on Everest took less than 2 years. Many people train 30 years and then at the end they won't climb Everest because it's such a dangerous mountain and it's very risky. But so a lot of people questioned me. They said, only 2 years of experience in mountain climbing and you're climbing Everest? And every time I said, I know my goal, I'm clear about my goal, I know what I'm doing, I've trained. So I didn't let their questions and their doubts stop me. So now Everest takes 60 days. We showed up on the mountain. The first 25 days, they were perfect. I was so strong. I knew I'm gonna summit. I just thought this is so good.
The adrenaline was rushing.
This is so good. Like I'm doing it. And this was right after another mountain, which was 27,000 feet. So I knew that I'm doing well on elevation. Mm-hmm. And I was doing so well and I was so excited. I saw the girls, they came to see me.
That was important. So when you met the girls and you told them what you were doing, and then you brought them pictures of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, when Dr. Kotler said, you know, you don't need to bring them anything, just bring them pictures of your life because they need to see you in, wow, you have a car, you have an apartment, you know, you're a professor.
Yeah.
What a big deal that was.
Yeah.
And that was your gift to them.
Yeah.
That's what's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I told them I'm going to climb the highest peak for you. And if you study hard, if you do well in your school in the next 60 days that I'm on the mountain, I'm going to do well. So I kind of wanted to connect it for them. And I showed them a lot of pictures from Iran, a lot of pictures from my life in US, my car, my house, everybody. And so now I am on Everest. It's day 25. And that was the day, April 25th, 2015. That was the day that the 7.8 earthquake struck Nepal. So we were at 20,000 feet, and which is 6,000 meters. And I was climbing an ice wall, like Game of Thrones kind of ice wall. And I'm climbing. I was on a ladder, and after the ladder, there was just a few more feet, and I was up the wall.
And when she was on that ladder and the earthquake, she was swinging on the ladder.
Yeah. And then the earthquake hit us, and the whole wall started shaking. Pieces of ice the size of a car, they were tumbling down the mountain, and like ice towers, they were breaking down around us. And the noise it made was so scary, so loud. It felt like I'm standing on a runway of an airport, and the jets are taking off. That's such a loud voice it was. And I couldn't see anything. There was so much snow and debris in the air. I couldn't breathe. There wasn't enough oxygen in the air, so I was gasping for air. I couldn't see, and I just climbed up really fast past the edge, clipped myself to the anchor, and I thought, this is the end. I'm gonna be buried alive under the snow, and nobody can ever find my body. And I thought about my mom. I thought, I'm making her really, really upset for a while as a result of
No,
this.
for the rest of her life.
Yeah. And I was just so upset. But then there was this moment, I saw my whole life in front of me. And then there was this moment that I accepted that this is how I'm gonna go. I thought, okay, this is how I'm gonna go. At least I'm going for a good cause.
Did you come to terms with it?
Yeah.
Were you at peace?
Yeah.
Nice.
There was this moment of peace. It was just so short, because as soon as I felt like peaceful, the earthquake stopped. Like there was no shaking anymore. And I'm like, oh, I survived that? No way. But then as soon as I got up and the rest of the team joined up, I was crying, hysteric. I couldn't even stop. I was sobbing. And we all gathered up. It took 7 days until we rescued, and we went to Kathmandu.
How was the rescue? So you were 7 days trapped on the top of this ice plateau.
Yeah.
And how many members were with you?
So we gathered up, we went a little bit higher because there were more people higher. We couldn't go back down because all the ladders on the crevasses, there were like 50 ladders that we had to cross over these deep crevasses that you can't even see the bottom. And we had to cross all those ladders, and finally we reached the next camp, which there were more climbers there waiting for us. And some of them, they thought we're not gonna make it because there were so many aftershocks.
That's right.
And they thought, okay, they survived the earthquake, but what if they don't survive the aftershocks? Mm-hmm. And so we made it. We had to.
So at this point, you couldn't go back down.
No.
You were stuck.
Yeah, we were stuck, but we could build our way up because we could see up. So we had to build the ladders and make the trail.
Why would you go back up? Because there's less oxygen going up there. And
yeah, it wasn't very far. It was 2-3 hours.
Okay.
And 2-3 hours of walking doesn't make much of a difference in levels of oxygen. So we went up, we were waiting there. And then when we came to the base camp, the whole base camp, like the middle part of the base camp was completely washed with the avalanche. And many people died. People who were sitting inside their tent, the avalanche just took them and hit against the wall of Everest, like the glacier. Mm-hmm. And many people died. There were bodies all over the mountain. And after 7 days, on day 8th, we flew to Kathmandu.
So did a helicopter come and pick you up?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And finally, I was extremely angry because I just raised money for the girls to continue their education. But now they didn't even have a home. They didn't even have food. The school doesn't exist anymore. So this was a very risky time because the human trafficker, they would come, and that would be the perfect time to tell their families, we're going to take your daughter, or just kidnap them.
Right.
Because people don't have food or water. Who cares about
So at this point, the family was like, take the girl.
Yeah.
Because it's one less mouth to feed.
Exactly. And so I was extremely angry and anxious to meet the girls, to make sure, to promise them, we'll take care of you. Don't worry. Just to stick with, like, think
Stay
about,
focused.
Yeah, stay
focused on education. No matter, everything is destroyed around you.
Yeah.
So this is important because, especially for the Syrian refugees right now, so many of them are not studying. They're not focused on their education because they're devastated. They're emotionally drained from the war, from being out of the war, being in a refugee camp. So how do you tell someone like that, to stay focused?
A lot of these girls, they were so resilient. So they had the strength inside them. We just had to help them see it. They have the power. Everybody has the power inside them. Everybody knows how to be resilient. They just have to reach in and touch their resilience and bring it out. We all have it. Like, I remember in my childhood, there were the days that my dad would lock the door and don't let me go to school. And I just had a book in my room, and that was the only thing I had. And I thought, my only way out of this is education. So I would just go sit in the corner and just read my book. And I try to kind of keep myself focused by focusing on what I have rather than thinking about what I don't have or what I...
And is it easier that, like, when you do have that focus, that you are just sitting there, focus, that it's easier to forget the devastation that's all around you?
Yeah.
So it's a gift.
It was a gift. Yeah, it would help me forget about everything that is wrong around me.
And you don't have control over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Same as the earthquake. I had zero control over everything that happened. The only thing that I had control over is that to tell the girls, focus on your education because this is what we have right now and we can benefit from it later. So I went and I visited the girls that I could find on that day. And I told them, we're going to come back. We make sure we build back your house, your school, everything. But I want you to stay focused until we come back. And one of the girls told me, and I have no idea because she lost her house. It was after 8 days of not eating. She didn't have a place. She was sleeping on dirt for 7 days. And she told me, Sara, I promise I think about my good days until you come back.
Good.
So that was her way of dealing with it.
Her good days from her past?
Yeah. Yeah.
So she's remembering all the good times, and that's how she stayed focused.
Yeah.
So each of us has different ways of dealing with it.
Yeah.
Because some people can't remember the good days because it makes them miss it in sentimental so badly that they can't.
Yeah.
But we all, like you said, everyone has it in different ways that they have to tap into.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And I went crazy. I came to US and the only thing that I wanted to do in my life was making sure I'm raising enough money for them to build back their houses, to build back their schools, to go back to school. Mm-hmm. And that's why I decided to write the book.
Wow, so now this is not just a challenge of stay focused on your school. Now it's rebuild the school.
Yeah.
Rebuild your homes. Rebuild the road to the home, to the school.
Yeah.
In order for you to stay in school.
Yeah.
So imagine the level of complexity for them to stay focused.
Yeah.
Now it just exponentially grew to the point, wow, it's amazing. And that's what we're dealing with the Syrians. And,
exactly.
They're in refugee camps. There's no education. There's no books. And there's no desire for them to, what's the point?
Yeah.
There's no hope anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. But if we stay focused on what we have rather than what we don't have and see your goal clearly, like a lot of times I have a really hard time imagining myself on the summit because I think this is so far. What is the point? Why do I even want to get up there?
Right.
And what helps me going is that I only think about the next step. Only one step more.
The next one in front of my nose.
The one right in front of me. I don't have to see the top of the staircase. Just the next one. What is the next? What is the next book you can read? What is the next person you can talk to? What is where you can find a mentor? Where who's the person that you can help me learn a little bit more English? Like I always tell our girls in Nepal that the number one thing you need to do is learn English.
Right.
That's your key to the world. Exactly. and that's the number one thing. Because yes, if I think about the top of Everest,
It's impossible.
yeah, I'm gonna go home and hide under the blanket. I can't do that. I mean,
Sarah, how did you emotionally heal from this? This is about you now. This isn't about the girls. How did you heal from that devastation, that trauma?
it took me a long time. It took me 2-3 months. Just sitting, being very sad and upset. Processing it, thinking about it. I did a lot of meditation, just sitting in silence and trying to feel the emotions. Because sometimes we distract ourselves with our phones and laptop and the next TV or the next video or the next show, TV show, right, and the next movie. And I realized if I keep distracting myself, I'm just delaying my healing.
You're sweeping it under the carpet. So you were conscious of the fact that you had to heal, you had to give yourself time to grieve that moment in time where you almost died.
Yeah.
And so dealing with that, and like now you have life born all over again, the new Sara.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think for people to start growing, they need to hit the rock bottom and start from there. Mm-hmm. You need to feel all the emotions that you're trying not to feel, and be with them and be okay with them and accept them. This is what happened.
The emotions.
Yeah.
Okay.
And accept them. This is what happened. This is in the past and it doesn't mean anything. It was just what happened. If you remove all the meanings and stories that you associated with it, that, oh, my life is bad and I'm not
cursed.
Lucky.
I'm not lucky.
Cursed. Yeah.
Why did this happen to me?
Yeah. If you remove all that emotions, separate the emotions from what happened, then that gives you strength. That gave me strength. Mm-hmm. I just removed that I'm a failure, I'm not good enough, I'm not lucky, why it has to happen. The earthquake happens every 80 years and it happened when I'm at 20,000 feet on a ladder. Right. Why am I so unlucky? But then as soon as I remove the emotions from it, I just realized that was an earthquake. It happened. Yes, it was very devastating and many people died. And that's for itself, it's a very sad thing that happened in Nepal. But personally, I just removed all those negative comments about myself from it. Because, the noise in my head kept telling me...
Shaitan, yeah, it can come back.
Yeah.
The demons.
Yeah. And I just separating that cleared the air for me to see my purpose again.
Now that you have still the same purpose, the clarity, then how did you come back and decide there are other charities, there are other groups that need Sara Safari? How did you come to that, and now what are you doing?
Well, I did it. I realized that I can make the earthquake as a bad incident in my life, or I can look at it as a good thing, as a gift. So instead of looking at myself as a victim, I decided to look at myself as being in the perfect place at the perfect time on a ladder at 20,000 feet. And as a result of that, now I can even make my life bigger. So I started talking about that moment. I started writing a book about that moment. Because that
was this healing for you, writing your book? Really?
Sharing my story, sharing things that I didn't want to share with anybody in the world. Like I shared,
because you relive it every page, every word.
Yeah. It wasn't easy. I'm not saying it was easy. It was hard, but it's healing because now it shows that I'm accepting everything that happened in the past. And I can move on and build a new future.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, as part of this program, we're hoping that a lot of the Syrians are able to write their book, write a song, write music, do art, whatever it is in order to help heal and get over that bridge, that trauma of, seeing bombs crashing, see the devastation, see broken dead bodies around you and the devastation of humanity around you. Find that, get all of that and write it, art it, music, sound, voice.
Exactly.
And that's the power of healing such an incredible trauma as well. So what are you doing now?
So out of the 7 highest peaks on 7 continents, I've climbed 5 of them for charities for women in Iran, in Africa, and in Iran is Iranian and Afghani women. In Africa is Tanzanian women who are recovering from fistula, and Planned Parenthood, which is an American organization. And also I climbed the highest peak in Oceania called Karsten's Pyramids for Syrian refugees.
Thank you.
Who are settled. You're welcome. That's my pleasure. That's my love. Who are settled in Jordan and Iraq. And I can't wait to see all these women in August. This coming August, I'm going to visit them.
So August 2019, Sara will be in Jordan to visit them and give her sprinkle magic dust to all of them and help them see the potential and, help them get out of the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's my dream.
That is absolutely incredible. So we wish you the best in that. There's a couple things that I also wanted to mention. There was something else that you've done that was really exciting, and this wasn't a peak. This was actually the largest ice cap in the world. And for someone that doesn't like the cold, I really don't understand this. I hate the cold. We live in California and the average temperature is 70 degrees. And when it hits 50, we all go crazy. So I can't even comprehend the fact that one time you texted me when you were in Greenland and it was 50, 60 degrees below zero.
Negative 30.
Yeah, negative 30 below zero. And I thought it was a typo. I couldn't comprehend this. So why?
Well, I step into the person who wants it. It's like in normal life, yes, I'm like everybody else. If it is cold, I'm not comfortable. If there are stairs, if there's an elevator, I take the elevator. So it's not that I like hardship. I'm like everybody else. But when it comes to the moment that I need to perform, I'm in a place that I need to be strong. We are all very, very strong, but we don't tap into it. We just don't even try to reach out and find that gem and bring it out and play with it.
What if we do that? What if more people tap into that? What would the world be like?
The heaven on earth.
I think so.
Yeah. And so I just tap into the gem. I tap into the strength.
I'm trying to take cold showers. It's a big deal because, it helps, set your immune system and all of that. And, I've studied it and Wim Hof and, the techniques.
Yeah.
And I'm trying.
Yeah.
And even cold showers is hard, but you went through Greenland to go over the ice cap.
Yeah, it was 30 days of mostly negative 20, negative 30 degrees. Some nights I couldn't sleep from cold. Every day we were walking, skiing for 10 to 14 hours a day, pulling 120 pounds. I am 120 pounds, so I was pulling my own weight every day for that many hours on ice.
And all your food is frozen. Your water is frozen.
Yeah, tasteless food the whole time. There is nowhere to hide when you want to use the restroom. It's all flat. It's all flat ice. And then even the skies are white, so there is no distraction. You can't even find your navigate or find your direction. A lot of times we were lost and we had to find our way.
Now you almost had to cancel that trip because of an accident you had just a few days before. Can you tell us about that? Because that's where you and I come together as well.
Yeah. So I was scootering a few days before and I was just having fun and I fell on my face on asphalt and the right side of my face was gone and I decided first, like for the first couple of days, I decided to quit until I got your text message.
Yes.
And you're like, come here, I have the healing jar for you.
And this is not an advertisement. This literally was, making sure that Sara continues her wonderful adventures to save the world and save the girls. And so I invited her to my house in order for me to give her a jar of ilaj.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
And then so I put it on that day as soon as I put it on you in your house. And then I went back home. I covered it, as you said, plenty, like very generously, continuously every day, morning, night, noon, night time. And before I get on the trip, I felt like I'm so healed. So I emailed them back saying, okay, I changed my mind, I'm coming.
Because you can't go to Greenland and put goggles and ice like masks on your face when your face half the skin is torn off.
Exactly. And I had stitches on my eyebrow, so it hurt. I couldn't even, the pressure would hurt. And then I had the stitches on my lips, so I would put plenty ilaj on my lips and my eyebrows. And like this side, I don't know if you see it or not. Can you see it? Yeah, so see, it's all gone. So anyways, the funny thing is like some of the people on the trip, they saw my face a couple of days before, like a week before, and now they're seeing like, how come you're all healed? Are you sure you fell? Was that a fake picture or something? And then one of the people who had eczema on his face, he's like, can I have some? And then there was this other guy who had allergic reaction on his face. He's like, can I have some? So it was like the whole team were using ilaj trying to cross Greenland.
Did it freeze? Because remember, I told you I didn't know whether it would freeze. It didn't freeze.
It didn't freeze the whole time.
Amazing.
It is amazing. Because everything else was frozen.
See, you're teaching me about my own product. Because I told you, I don't know if it's going to freeze. Because a lot of my Canadians, they use it. And I never know what the situation is, whether it's freezing.
No, it was in negative 30 degrees and it didn't.
Wonderful. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. So again, you are going to be helping the Syrian refugees this summer and dedicating your climb to their cause. And on behalf of the Syrians everywhere, I just want to say thank you, Sara. This is just an incredible... I've been wanting to interview you. You're always on the road. She's a TED speaker. She's inspiring women all over the world. And I just think that you are just Mother Sara. So as a gift, I would like to present you with my little key.
Thank
this
you.
is the key for the Karame program. And because you've shared your keys with us, we would like to offer our key to you.
Thank you so much. And can I give you this gift of, it's like a gem, it's a rock. When I saw it, I thought of you because you always have a bigger purpose and you're so disciplined when you choose. I've seen you when you choose something, you go for it head first. And this reminded me of you. So thank you
so much. I love you. Thank you so much. So I hope you were able to get something out of this program in the sense of, put the biggest possible dream, like Sara had this incredible dream of going to UCLA, and then secondarily to go and climb Mount Everest, as absurd, as crazy as that is. And she kept focused on little steps, not that one, little steps going this way.
And it's not about the top. I still haven't made it to the top of Everest. It's 5 years that I'm trying to get to the top of Everest. I broke my arm.
I remember
there's
that.
So many things. But it's not about the top. It's about the journey. It's about the steps that I take every day to get there.
Oh, this is what I wanted to mention. You mentioned that as you climb the mountain, it's not going up. You have to go up, down, up, down, up, down as you climb because the body has to acclimatize
to a new elevation because of the lack of oxygen. We go up, shock the body to the new elevation, come back down and rest.
I don't think anybody knew that. When I read the book, I didn't know that you had to keep going up and down, up and down. Yeah. But isn't that the way life is too?
Exactly. We never reach our goal in one shot. We always try and then we fail.
Slide back
down. And then now we have a better perspective of what is next. Which way are we going? Which way is the best way? And then we try again and then we fail, come back down a little bit, rest. And that's how we live life. So mountain climbing for me was like my life lesson. I realized this is exactly how we live life. I just, every time that I fail, I'm more prepared to go higher, better. Yeah.
That's amazing. I see that in a different way, in the sense of, like, for me, you know, I'm very social, you know, I have a lot of activities. However, there are times where I just have to pull away from everybody and just replenish my well. You know, and it's just like the well, that the water, you pull, and there's nothing left. So I have to wait for that water to slowly rise back in, and then I can go and give and do whatever I do.
That 30 days in Greenland, the silence of 14 hours of skiing in silence with zero distraction, no phone, no computer, no internet, nothing. And just, I had to be there with myself, with my emotions, with everything that I had to deal with.
Right.
That was my way of giving back to myself.
Right. Replenishing the well.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you have enjoyed this episode with Sara Safari, and I hope you do get a chance to read the book Above the Mountain's Shadow. The link is below, as well as some of other Sara's links and more information about Sara, her videos when she was crying on Mount Whitney. There's just so much to this woman. I don't think that we can squeeze any more out of her, but I feel good to know that the world has people like Sara Safari, and she's out there doing good things. And my question to you is, are you going to let those social boundaries hold you in, or are you going to get out of them and then experience what life has to offer and then help other women pull out of that rabbit hole? That's my question. Please leave your comments below. How are you going to get out of the rabbit hole, and what is your dream, and how can you help other girls get out there? I mean, that's just a crazy concept. You climb a mountain, you raise money for other girls and stop them from going into sex trafficking. What a noble cause. So what's your noble cause?